Voting isn't just going to the polls anymore on Election Day. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote is a tool created by Democracy Works, and it breaks down the options your state offers by forecasting a ballot, empowering you to decide where and when to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It is easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. It is committed to helping you vote no matter what. You can use the How to Vote tool to sign up for election reminders, see what's on your ballot, get step-by-step assistance requesting your mail ballot, explore your options for returning your mail-in ballot, check your voter registration status, and find your local polling site, and make sure that you have an appropriate ID to bring with you. Decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote.
Hello and welcome to the formal review. Today, we will be looking at the 2018 film, Vice. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the review.
Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 28 of the formal review. Now before I get started, as always, I do want to say that there may be some spoilers in this discussion. However, I do always do my best to keep the review fairly vague so not to ruin the movie for you. But if you don't care about that, keep listening. So Vice is a biographical comedy drama film written and directed by Adam McKay. It stars Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell, Sam Rockwell, Tyler Perry, Allison Peel, Lily Rabe, Jesse Plemons, and Justin Kirk. The film is about U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney, played by Bale, as he grows from being an intern to becoming debatably the most powerful vice president in American history. As a kid, I remember this whole process fairly well. I remember Cheney was the person who really was in control of the White House during the Bush years, and I was very intrigued on this, mainly because Christian Bale pretty much in every role dives right into it and admits 110%. So Adam McKay is known mostly for his work on Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, Anchorman 2, and also The Big Short, where he was nominated for Best Director and Best Adapted Screenplay. With this film, he does a lot of fairly similar aspects to The Big Short. It's a film that kind of gives you this information but also tries to entertain you. It's not a typical biopic. He uses these voiceovers and also editing and then fourth wall breaking to essentially bring attention to this kind of dark area of American history. This isn't a film that's looking at Dick Cheney as a character. It's not trying to figure out why he ended up being this way. It's more of just showing you who he was as a person and trying to keep that entertained. Now, that's one thing that Adam McKay does well, is that if it's a relatively speaking boring topic to cover, but it's something that's important, he does discuss that well. That's something that The Big Short did. And in this film, he shows how somebody who became vice president essentially shouldn't have, because he clearly had a background really pushed him to make decisions that may or may not have been best for our country. I think it's really no surprise that Christian Bale does a fantastic performance. The makeup looks great, and really he does fit the bill as Dick Cheney. He not only looks the part, he definitely sounds the part, getting his very distinctive growl. To say that he's one of the best actors of recent years is definitely, honestly, short-sighted. Steve Carell as Rumsfeld, I thought that was a brilliant cast. My biggest problem with this film is definitely less effective than The Big Short, mainly because this is something that's really not that hard of a concept to understand. And that's why this infotainment type of film doesn't really work well in comparison to Big Short, which had a lot of pieces that a lot of the general population doesn't get. If you show this film, pretty easy story to understand. And this film does show how Cheney takes a lot of people's misfortunes and benefits from it. This guy was a fairly awful type of person, yet there could have been a lot more risk taken with this film, and what really holds that back is the trying to keep this simple, even though it's a fairly simple story from the beginning. It seems that McKay had an issue with trying to find some middle ground in between The Big Short and a Michael Moore film. And and he's not as angry as Michael Moore is in his film, so that doesn't really work as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of The Big Short, mainly because I couldn't get into it. It wasn't enjoyable for me, but I understand why people enjoy it. Vice is less of that. It really is difficult to get into, and I think that because it's honestly boring at times. It's just jumping around on Cheney's story. The reason that the film gives of why we have this narrator is not shown until later in the film, and there's no reason why that person feels the need to narrate this film from that point of view. But honestly, I think that's where the beat stops when it comes. Honestly, after Bale and Carell, the acting wasn't that phenomenal. They do serviceable jobs. Amy Adams is underused. Sam Rockwell is underused. And frankly, I think that this film concentrates mostly on Bale and Carell. And at the end of the day, this film does have a lot of good attributes. The acting for Bale and Carell, it's entertaining for the most part. I don't feel I wasted 2 hours, but would I watch it again? Probably not. I didn't feel engulfed in this film really the entire time. Maybe that's because I knew what was going to happen next because these events fairly vividly. But maybe it's also because they kind of make Cheney this kind of cartoony villain, and I'm not sure I grasped onto that, and really took me out of the film, especially that mid-movie finale thing that happened. I didn't see a necessity to it. There was a lot of unnecessary things in this film, and as a viewer, you're just supposed to accept it, and frankly, I really couldn't because there was no explanation. I would rate this film 3.0 out of 5 vote dice. Now I want to know what you thought of the film. Do you think all the people in this film deserve their nominations, or only some of them do? Hit me up on social media. My URL is all the same. It's at The Formal Review. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also check out Box Office Buzz. I do a lot of written and retrospective reviews on there. And again, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. I do appreciate everyone listening. If you all weren't listening, I wouldn't be doing this, so thank you very much. And for those who have been supporting on a financial nature, I appreciate that more. So if you haven't started supporting, you can go to anchor.com/the-formal-review and click support this podcast. I do appreciate any contributions you can make. So you never miss an episode, please subscribe on your respective podcast service. The Formal Review is on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, pretty much every place you can find a podcast, you'll find us. Also, please leave reviews. I'm always looking to improve and grow, and I want to know what you all are thinking. As with all reviews, there is music in the back. I do not own the rights to this music. I like to bring attention to the musical score of the film because it's definitely a big part and definitely brings you into the film's atmosphere. This episode's music from the Vice original motion picture score, composed by Nicholas Bertel, released by Decca Records on December 7th, 2018. So until next time, I'll see you at the movies. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Formal Review. We hope you'll join us again.